This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama. How are we doing today on this Thursday? It is The Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com. You're hanging out with us on the Bama Central YouTube channel. Checking us out on my own social media machine at Joe Gaither 6. You can find me on social media on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you like, at Joe Gaither 6. We appreciate everybody jumping in, joining us today. A lot of fun here. We're going to do a two-part episode on a Thursday because, look, we're honest with you. We missed you on Monday. We took our regular day off on Tuesday. Now, we were in Birmingham, but we usually have at least one day a week where we don't do a show, and that kind of suffices the Tuesday. But we owe you a couple episodes so that we can get caught up on a Football Friday tomorrow. So what we're going to do today is this will be part one, and we're going to talk about our time in Birmingham on Tuesday. We're going to talk about Alabama basketball as the Crimson Tide gets set to off its season now. It's not officially underway quite yet, but Alabama is going to be underway in Boutwell Auditorium on Friday night, and I will be there to cover Alabama and Memphis. That'll be a lot of fun. We'll talk about that scrimmage. We'll talk about what we saw this past Friday night, the Final Four banner unveiling, the ring ceremony, and the scrimmage, a little three-point contest, a little dunk contest as well. What stood out to us? We were in Birmingham for SEC Media Days, and that was a lot of fun on Tuesday. So we'll talk about what we heard from head coach Nate Oats, what we heard from Latrell Wrightsell, what we heard from Mark Sears as well as other key members in the conference, Bruce Pearl, some of these preseason superlatives, the Alabama Crimson Tide being selected as preseason favorites. So we've got a lot to talk about with Alabama basketball. So the first part of our first episode today will be on Alabama basketball. And our second episode, we will turn our attention to the Tennessee Vols, and we'll turn it back because we are in the midst of football season. But that's going to be our plan. We invite you, of course, to jump in and join us on the comments section at Joe Gaither 6. If you want to join us, leave me a comment, a question, a query, or complaint. We're going to start with Alabama basketball, episode number 1 on Thursday, and then we will do episode number 2 all on Alabama football and the upcoming third Saturday in October. Let's get us started, though, before we do, by diving in and telling you about our friends, Purple Turtle Roofing. They're the most reliable residential roof replacement company in Alabama and Mississippi. Whether it's addressing leaks, storm damage, or general wear and tear, Purple Turtle Roofing is going to be there to deliver exceptional roof repair for your property. Purple Turtle Roofing is the leading expert in local residential roofing solutions, specializing in providing unparalleled service and craftsmanship for all your roof replacement needs. Call Dustin Foley and his team today at 877-PT-ROOF-5 for your free roof inspection. That's 877-787-6635. Schedule your appointment, and one of their qualified employees will come check out your roof for free. Make sure you're prepared for all of life's storms. You can visit them online today at roofturtle.com. Tell Dustin Foley and the team you heard it on the Joe Gaither Show. We'd appreciate it if you did that. You want to be ahead of all of life's storms. As always, we are in the Derek Daniels State Farm Studios right here in Northport. We appreciate Derek for putting us on each and every day. You can call him, get all your insurance taken care of, 205-758-3391. Call and see how much Derek can save you today. So let's get right into it. Alabama basketball picked to win the SEC. Do you like it? Do you not? Well, Coach Jones goes on the podium on Tuesday in Birmingham and basically espouses the same confidence that you've heard the entire offseason. Now, Coach Oats did kind of poke fun at the media saying, I wish you would have picked us fifth, because last year when Alabama was finished fifth, you go to the Final Four. 2 years ago, you were picked to finish fifth. You win the regular season and the conference tournament, really having a good year when Alabama has been picked preseason fifth. But Alabama was picked preseason first this year with Auburn coming behind them, Tennessee, Arkansas, Texas A&M, Florida, Texas, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, out your top 10. Now, what does the media know? We know nothing. We just vote on it. Obviously, Alabama's team is extremely stacked. Do you like the pressure? Do you like all the noise that has surrounded the program so far this summer. I mean, there's been a lot of noise. You hit Cliff Amore in the transfer portal. You hired Brian Adams from the NBA. You're coming off a Final Four. You have really, really done well in recruiting. The noise is at an all-time high. You're building a brand new practice facility. The noise is at an all-time high. You're at the number 2 overall preseason AP poll ranking, the highest preseason ranking in your program's history. Do you like it? Or do you have any worry about Alabama crumbling under pressure, crumbling under expectations? Nate Oats, in true Nate Oats fashion, has absolutely embraced the expectations. Nate Oats has not been talking, hey, Final Four, let's get back to the Final Four, let's add to our banner. No. Nate Oats has been talking national championship. And if you know me, by any stretch of the imagination, Alabama basketball is an area where I do struggle to contain my fandom a little bit. And so, yeah, you say those dirty words, Nate Oats, Alabama basketball national championship. You've got me dreaming of San Antonio next March already. And while that's a lot of fun, and goodness gracious, I'm so thankful to be on this end of things, being excited about the season, thinking about, what could be, what should be, what might become, memories that could be out in front of us as an Alabama basketball kind of conglomerate. But I wonder, Coach Oats, you got the rabid part of the fan base, and look, they're entitled to be because they're paying money, and the NIL factor there is much of the program as they've ever been. But you've got a little bit of the fan base where you're setting yourself up for expectations. If you are unable to win the SEC regular season, win the SEC conference tournament, get a high NCAA tournament seed, advance far in the NCAA tournament, win a national championship, if you're going to do those things. Now, look, you're not running off Nate Oats. You're absolutely thankful for him. But what does that do? Does it sour any of the momentum that you're building? And look, the momentum has been just exponential returns on the graph. You have gone straight up since you've hired Nate Oats, and you're obviously very happy about that. You kept him over, whispers about Kentucky, thoughts about the NBA, different things like that. And you're obviously wanting to keep him many, many years. I just, going into the season, have a small sense of hesitation with, hey, we're here to win the national championship. Now, look, I love it as far as that's exactly what I would like to see Alabama do. I want to cover Alabama winning a national championship in basketball. I want to cover history. Sure, you've seen 18 football national championships, and each one of those are special. But if I were able to be at the center of the universe for Alabama's first national championship basketball, oh my gosh, what a special memory that would be. So of course, I love the expectation, and I love the fact that is the goal. And I love the fact, really, a part of me loves the fact that the team is not shying away from that being the goal. The team is basically saying, you heard my ears up in Birmingham, I came back because of the roster that we have built. Because I think we can get Alabama, make history here at Alabama. And I think we're right on the verge of history kind of getting started with the season being really, really close around the corner. You've got Memphis this Friday, and then you're playing UNC Asheville on November 4th to really get things started. And I cannot wait. Goodness gracious, this is right around the corner. I know a lot of people are knee-deep in football season. I have been as well. It kind of surprised me this week. I'll be honest. It kind of surprised me this week saying, oh, my gosh, it's SEC Basketball Media Days. Here we go. We got to get up to Birmingham on Tuesday. So we apologize for missing a show on Tuesday because of that. But it's here, and Alabama basketball's expectations are through the roof. He loves it, but a part of me is a little apprehensive considering just the way the fan bases go. If you are unable to deliver on some of the expectations that you're setting, Coach Oats, small caution on what it might do to the momentum of the program. Obviously, while Coach Oats is here, I think the momentum is going to be still rolling at a really good pace. But you'd hate to see some disappointed fans thinking, oh, we didn't win a national championship. We only made it to the Elite Eight. We only got back to the Final Four. Only won an SEC regular season championship. If you only check off a couple of these boxes, will the fan base still be as supportive as they are? I mean, right now it is a fever pitch for Alabama basketball. I think that you really do a good job capitalizing on that. by making this season a success. And look, all the ingredients are right there. All the ingredients are there to have a successful season. You see Mark Sears, the preseason conference player of the year, excuse me, SEC preseason player of the year, as selected by the media. And dude can ball out from Huntsville going into his third year. He is going to cement his legacy as an all-time Alabama basketball player this year if he just matches what he has done the last 2 years. Not all the pieces, but really look around the conference, and the conference is as loaded as it's ever been. Alabama, number 2 in the AP poll. You look at the rest of the conference, yeah, we just rattled it off. Auburn, number 2, Tennessee, 3, Arkansas, 4, A&M, 5, Florida, 6. How many teams can win the league? Texas is preseason 7th, Kentucky 8th. This is relative to the SEC. But how many of these teams can actually win the league? Do you have 8 teams going all the way through to Kentucky that realistically could win the SEC? You think about Auburn and what they're bringing back in Jai Broom, and how he stacks up with the SEC in the SEC Player of the Year ranking. Tennessee was the Kai Ziegler, Arkansas bringing in Coach Calipari and all the transfers that they got. You're going to have a really loaded conference once again. So if Alabama has an off night or 3 in conference play, or I think they ended up with 4 losses last year in conference play. It was not that many that ended up having Alabama finish tied for second, but they were on the tiebreakers. It's not going to take much. It's not going to take much, and it's going to be a night in, night out affair this season. You obviously are going to want to play during the non-conference portion of your schedule. The non-conference portion of your schedule is absolutely bonkers, brutal. You got UNC Asheville to start it off. Okay, you're getting rolling with a should win. Arkansas State, McNeese State, and then you're getting fired up. Purdue, Illinois, Houston, Rutgers, Notre Dame, North Carolina, Creighton. Oh, we catch a little break with North Carolina in Grant Nelson's backyard. North Dakota, Grant Nelson's backyard. Kent State, South Dakota State, and then here we go, SEC season. So be patient with this team during the non-conference portion of the schedule, but the team's going to have to be ready once the SEC play starts. If you drop a couple in the non-conference portion, that's not the end of the world. You're going to get plenty of quality wins. It's not going to be the end of the world. You're just going to want to be ready for the start of conference play on January 4th when you're opening up with Oklahoma. And I think that really, when you look at the roster Alabama does have, that's a championship-winning roster. But look around the league, and it is just murderer's row. I think especially in the 4 with Arkansas, Auburn, and Tennessee all being your direct competitors. It's just not going to be easy night in and night out in the SEC. So, I say that, and I bring that up to reframe back to the beginning of this conversation. What happens if Nate Oats is not able to maybe deliver on some of these expectations that he has set? Obviously, you're not suggesting anything happens with Nate Oats. No, don't take it that way. I'm just wondering what happens to the temperature in the fan base? Does it cool off at all? Right now, as we said, the excitement for Alabama basketball is at an all-time high, and it should be. It absolutely should be. Nate Oats has been recruiting his tail off. The program is as healthy as it has ever been. You're coming off a Final Four run like it was history. You should be at an all-time high for your intrigue. I'm worried about the landscape a little bit in the conference and the competition in the conference being a small factor, and maybe you don't end up winning the regular season. Maybe you don't win up in Nashville, win the SEC Conference tournament. I think we've seen, or hopefully the Alabama faithful have learned over the last 5 years. Look, if you haven't been paying attention since Coach Sanderson, you've at least been paying attention since Coach Oats has started. So you've learned over the last 5 years, in particular this past year, that you can have a team kind of sputtering, faltering going into postseason play and still end up with great results. And so we'll see what ends up happening in, what is that going to be, 6 months from now when the team enters postseason play. All right, so let's talk about Mark Sears being named Preseason Player of the Year. It's a great honor for Mark. It doesn't mean much. I remember last year Wade Taylor was named Preseason Player of the Year. And look, they're not naming scrubs to the Preseason Player of the Year, but it doesn't mean anything. It just means that this guy is, one of the more talented returners I think I just named a couple of the others that he beat out. Beat out Janai Broom. He beat out Asa Newell from Georgia, Ziegler from Tennessee, and obviously Wade Taylor from Texas A&M. I just think you got a lot of great players in the conference. And I just think that Mark Sears is very special. I mean, it's not Steph Curry. It's not Steph Curry. But it's very similar. It's not as explosive, but there's a little bit of similarities in their game. And now going to year number 3 here at Alabama, Mark has an opportunity to make himself a top 3 player in the program history, maybe. If he is able to repeat what he did last year, and if he's able to lead Alabama even further, just write his name Crimson Flame. Very excited to see what Mark Sears ends up doing. Don't have a big old take on this. Just had Mark Sears preseason player of the year, and you just look at the guys that he is beating out. I think Janai Broom is maybe the best big man in the conference, maybe the best big man in the entire college basketball landscape. Zakai Ziegler, great guard, great defender as well. Not as good a shooter as Mark Sears, but really strong player for Tennessee. Somebody I really respect and always has given Alabama a bunch of battles. And so for Mark to be beating these guys out, it just shows the conference media all kind of recognizing what he means to Alabama as far as the scorer, as far as the initiator, as far as someone who dictating the pace. And last year, Mark found his voice down the stretch. I think Mark, in the week before the SEC tournament, started to kind of see at that point. Now look, it changed, but I think my perception is that Mark saw a little bit of his Alabama career flashing before his eyes as the season was winding down last year. And Mark got a bit vocal. There's a lot of people that said Mark really stepped up in the leadership department. Mark really got going on the defensive side of the floor. And I wonder if those lessons that Mark really learned in the last couple of weeks of the year, look, his drove you to the Final Four. His leadership kind of steadied the ship right before the big dance. Obviously, the SEC tournament was not what you wanted, going one and done, losing to Florida. But I think that he was still sort of asserting himself the week earlier, the week before. And look, those things take time. I think that Mark Sears might have had a little bit of a moment of, oh gosh, I got to take as much control as I can of this team while I can. Look, at that point, he was thinking this might be it for me. I might go to the NBA draft. And I wonder those lessons in those last couple of weeks, how they might have translated the summer as the elder statesman really trying to get the team to embrace the defensive side of the floor. If Mark Sears becomes, look, we know he's a great shooter. Oh, deadly shooter. And he gets to the rim deceivingly well for his minute size. But if he embraces the defensive side of the ball, and even if he's not playing as many minutes, and I don't expect him to play as many minutes with the depth that you have, but if he's not playing as many minutes, but he's playing harder on the defensive side, setting the tone, if your leader is setting the tone, well, everybody else has no choice but to fall in line. So I'm excited to see what Mark does and how he builds off of season's kind of last couple of weeks, learning to find his voice a little bit more. Because, look, I think Mark was always the lead by example type. Hey, man, just going to do my job on him, and I'm going to do it excellently. But I think that he sort of, I don't want to say it was desperate. That's not the picture I'm trying to paint. But I think he sort of saw, oh, man, if this is the last couple of weeks in college basketball, I'm going to speak up, and I'm going to be dedicated on the offense or on the defensive side of the floor. And that really, rallied the troops, rallied the team last year. I'm curious to see how it will play out after maybe a summer's long worth of that attitude permeating through the team. All right, let's keep going on the Joe Gaither Show right here on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com. That's kind of our thoughts from SEC Media Days. I want to continue with this basketball theme by talking about the scrimmage this past Friday night in Coleman Coliseum. Before I do that, though, I want to once again remind you right here in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios here in Northport. Derek Daniel, like a good neighbor, Derek Daniel and State Farm is there. You can call 205-758-3391 for all of your insurance needs: home, life, auto insurance, renter insurance, anything that you need. Boaters insurance, you need an umbrella policy, you're buying a car, you're selling a car, call Derek Daniel. He'll take care of all your insurance needs. 205-758-3391. Call and see how much Derek can save you today. I keep it going. I was in Coleman Coliseum this past weekend on Friday night for the Final Four unveiling, the Final Four banner unveiling the rings that were distributed out. And of course, what I was really there for, I mean, yes, I don't get to see the rings up close and everybody sees the banner. It's going to be hanging there for all of the time. What I was really there to see, the 3-point contest, the dunk contest, and the guys ran open gym for, what was it, 2 12-minute periods or whatnot. So they ran some open gym. There was no Latrell Wrightsell. There was no young blood. There was no Aiden Sherrill, as all three of those guys are dealing with minor injuries. I think Latrell Wrightsell is going to be ready for the start of the season. Aiden Sherrill a little bit after that, and Chris Youngblood probably into December. But you're getting those guys that are on the shelf. You still saw 10 scholarship players, right? You still saw, 5-on-5 scholarship players, and you also now come in once or twice from the walk-on ranks. It was a lot of fun to be there. My biggest takeaway was LeBaron Philon. Baron Philon, freshman out of Baker, right? Well, he's not really out of Baker. He was out of Baker High School right here in Alabama, and he transferred to Lake Academy in Missouri. He was committed to Kansas. When he was at Baker, he was committed to Auburn. He decommitted from Auburn, started flirting with Ole Miss, transferred to Link Academy, and then got hooked up with Kansas, committed to Kansas. Kansas ends up getting Rylan Griffin from Alabama out of the transfer portal, kind of nudges LeBaron Philon out of the spot, and Alabama's like, all right, we'll take this trade per se. And boy, did Alabama win this end of the trade. Look, I love your Rylan Griffin, and I love what Rylan Griffin did for the Alabama basketball program, being a defensive stopper and how many threes. And he was all, look, he's my man. You guys know me. I like wrestling. Rylan Griffin, big WWE guy that kind of got released. Talked about a lot last spring. So we're one on one right there. Love you, Rylan Griffin. Go Rock Chalk Jayhawk AU. But did Alabama win that trade? LeBaron Philon, freshman, very long range player, and instinctual. That's what I thought on Friday night. Very instinctual, very just in the right place at the right time, in the passing lanes at the right time. Very aggressive when opportunities to be aggressive, driving the basketball, getting to the rim, kind of making the defense collapse around him and kicking it back out to Grant Nelson for several threes. Baron Philon made me very excited. Now, look, of course, he's not going to end up starting for Mark Sears, but he's going to have some run. You're not going to be able to keep him off the court. Very, very exciting freshman. And just, look at God. God says, you lose one, Alabama, here's one. Yeah, LeBaron may just fit this team like a glove. And as a second or third guard, as a second or third ball handler, you want the depth to be there. I love Mark, but you don't want to run into the ground. Love Latrell Wrightson, but how confident are you that Latrell will be able to be playing all year long? If I definitely do not want any sort of head injury for Latrell, but that always kind of lingering over it. Aiden Holloway has shown proficiency to play point guard and shooting guard. I think LeBaron Philon might be the luckiest break that Nate Oats might have ever had your lap. And now, obviously, it did work to secure him, but he was kind of left out in the cold, iced out by Kansas at the last minute, and Alabama ended up having the spot open because of Rylan leaving. It just worked out for everyone, and hopefully it does work out for everyone. Hopefully Rylan has a great year at Kansas, and they enjoy him, and hopefully the Alabama basketball fans enjoy LeBaron Philon. I think that he's going to be a player that Alabama fans will quickly fall in love with because of his of nature, just because of I think that he's going to embody the Nate Oats style. We're going to turn you over on the defensive end, and we're going to go score ASAP. He was running up and down the floor on Friday night in Coleman Coliseum, getting to the rack and being really, really impactful for Team White. It's Team White versus Team Crimson in warmups, and I said, Team Crimson with Mark Sears and Cliff Amore, they're definitely going to win. But no, Team White ended up basically running Team Crimson, and a lot of it was because of LeBaron Philon. Now, I just mentioned it. My second biggest takeaway from Friday night was Mark Sears and Cliff Amore working in the pick and roll. Goodness gracious, that was what Alabama was missing last year. And yes, I know Grant Nelson was in the role from time to time, and you had Milwaukee last season. You had several big last year. You had Nick Pingle doing this role several times. There's just something a little different with Cliff Amore. Size-wise, explosion-wise, I mean, just my man at 6'11", and his wingspan is like a dactyl. It was just something different. Harder to get over the screen around Cliff Amore will give Mark Sears a lot more room to operate in the role. Roll with the lob. It's going to be there all year long, and I think that Mark had nice touch on the passes. I think Cliff has has really, really good hands. No disrespect. I think Nick Pringle had pretty decent hands, but really you struggled last year catching the basketball down in the post. Catching the basketball down in the post on some of these little flip-offs, some of these little dump-offs, some of these lobs. Sometimes a little bit of a struggle for the Alabama bigs this year. I think it might be one of the quick places where you see improvement for this Alabama offense. I think Cliff Amore is very, very sure-handed and was able to roll to the rim on Friday night, catch the lobs, and finish efficiently and emphatically on Friday night. So Cliff will really, really impressive on Friday night. Now, the other thing with Cliff is everything that you all missed last year. Being able to play drop coverage effectively. Alabama really, really, really had to fight over screens last year defensively and really, really had to hedge protection from the bigs when there were screens last year. Was not able to play its true drop coverage defensively on the pick and roll because you obviously lost Charles Bediako to the NBA, and that was like we don't have to rehash. But you weren't able to pull coverage on Friday night. From Amore, you're playing drop coverage again. You're back into kind of your defensive style that maybe you've had more success with over the years under Nate Oats. Now, obviously, Brian Adams is going to change some things, the new defensive coach. But very nice to see, okay, Cliff's skill set allows you to call on a call as a coaching staff. And so Cliff is just going to be so much fun to watch. I think the Alabama faithful is going to fall in love with him this year. Now, let's talk about off the court. You had the 4 ring ceremony. It was great. You had the banner ceremony. That was great. Everybody hooting and hollering for Nate Oats. Everybody hooting and hollering for Greg Byrne and Stuart Bell and all the players that were on the team last year. Awesome. Very fun. But Nate Oats pretty clearly on Birmingham this past week saying that we are not using the Final Four run as storytellers. We're not relying on the last Final Four run to motivate this year's team because he said, I mean, quite plain and simple. You can see it when you look at the roster. Only 4 scholarship players remain from this year's team. It's a brand new team. This team's got to earn it. You do have the number 2 overall ranking. You do have the high expectations out, and you absolutely crush the transfer portal. You got McDonald's All-American and Aiden Holloway, probably the best shot blocker in the country, and Cliff Amore, two-way player in Chris Youngblood and Houston Millett. So you crushed the transfer portal. You crushed the recruiting game. Lucked into a great prospect. You into look. The LeBaron 5-1 thing might end up. We might look back on it in 6 months. And think, how in the world? Now, I don't think that Kansas is going to regret taking Griffin, but I think we all might look around and think just how fortunate Alabama really is to have gotten LeBaron 5-1. So I enjoyed that aspect. I enjoyed that mindset from Coach Oats to kind of say, we only had 4 guys from last year's team. This year's team's got to go build its legacy this year and see if they can do it. If they can add another banner or if they can add another ring to the collection this year. All right, one more commercial, and then we will wrap up basketball discussion with Bama in Boutwell. Let's tell you about Purple Turtle Roofing one more time. They're the most residential roofing replacement company in Mississippi and Alabama. Call Dustin Foley and his team at 877-PT-ROOF-5. That's 877-787-6635. You can schedule your appointment with one of their qualified employees who come check out your roof for free. It's a free inspection, so you may as well call them. And you can make sure that you're prepared for all of life's storms. Call them today. It's 877-787-6635 or visit them online at roofturtle.com. And as always, we are live right here in the Derek Daniels State Farm Studios in Northport. Call 205-758-3391. Call and see how much save you today. Now let's wrap this basketball discussion up because I know all you guys are really in football mode. If you are there, you can get to the next episode and we'll be into the Tennessee discussion. But basketball is going to be live on Friday night. Boutwell Arena. I have never been there. It's in Birmingham. It's supposed to be a little Cracker Jack box. Let me just tell you, I love. Oh, if it's an old little gym, I'm going to be in nostalgia heaven. I will just be smiling from ear. If it's old and dingy, the lights are coming in, just barely on, the ball bounces in a funny way, I will love it. So I'm really, really looking forward to getting into Boutwell Arena, seeing Alabama take on Memphis. You look at Memphis in KenPom. Memphis is currently 45th going into preseason KenPom. And obviously, this is just a preseason exhibition. But I think it's going to be a fun test for Alabama. First real time they can go against someone else. It's Memphis versus Wake Forest. Messed that up. Oh my gosh, Memphis is in Houston. I did mess that up. We're playing Wake Forest on Friday. Oh my gosh, what a turd, Joe. We're playing Wake Forest, who coincidentally is 44th in KenPom. What am I thinking? Memphis is in Houston next week. You're playing Wake Forest in Boutwell tomorrow night. So you'll be able to see it on several different kind of small-time outlets. I think it's SEC Plus. SEC Plus might be a place to see it. You can follow me at Joe Gaither 6. I will be there, and I will actually type in Wake Forest, not Memphis, into all of my machines and all my social medias. You can follow me at Joe Gaither 6 for all your scrimmage updates. I don't expect to see Chris Youngblood, of course. Don't expect to see Aiden Sherrill, of course. Really don't expect to see Trelli, of course. I think they're all kind of just waiting to get to 100%, and that will be in the next couple of weeks. Each of them kind of staggered out. But Alabama's going to have plenty of players. 10 guys. I'm looking for them play as a group. Seeing Mark and LeBaron play together. We saw them play against each other. Seeing Grant Nelson play with Cliff Morey. We saw them on opposite teams this past week as well. And so it'll be a lot of fun. We will be there. Bama Central will be there at 7 p.m. in Boutwell Arena, Boutwell Auditorium right there in Birmingham. I'll probably be there about 5:30 or so. Cannot wait to I'm hopeful that it has a really historic, nostalgic feel to it. I know that the tickets were fairly expensive through night 80 and night 80. Got to give them a lot of credit. They do always put on a great event. But I do look up the tickets. They were more than what I might have paid. I'm very, very, very fortunate, extremely fortunate to be going to cover the game. Kind of get in the back door there and see the game. I'm hopeful that there are a lot of fans. That the noise just fills up the place, and it feels like a souped-up high school arena. Like high school basketball, a lot of passion. Hopefully the fans are right on top of us in Boutwell Arena on tomorrow night, and I'll be covering it. I'll be taking a lot of video. You can follow me at Joe Gaither 64, social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, that sort of thing. And, of course, we'll have all kinds of coverage on the Bama Central YouTube channel. Nate Oats probably talking afterwards and the like as the guys are getting ready for the season. Do it for the show today. We're going to take a pause, actually. We'll cut off this show, and we'll come back. I'm going to take a deep breath and do a football show here in just a minute because we're doing a little episode on this Thursday to kind of make up for some time. This was our discussion on SEC Media Days in Birmingham on Tuesday. Alabama basketball is getting under November 4th. We had a lot of time, a lot of fun in Birmingham on Tuesday. We will have a lot of fun in Birmingham on Friday for Bama and Boutwell as well. We want to thank Druid City Music Hall for sponsoring the program. They're the premier place for live music on the Strip. You can visit them online at druidcitymusichall.com/shows for their entire lineup or to purchase tickets for all their shows. Let's check them out online, druidcitymusichall.com. We'll get out of here for just a little. I'll be back with episode 2 on this Thursday, talking about Tennessee, talking about Alabama, and how the Crimson Tide will fare on the third Saturday in October.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither 6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.